about this week's parsha, Parshas Noach, within the context of manhigus, of leadership. The title of the Shiur is Rejection and Acceptance. There's a time of acceptance and a time of rejection insofar as HaKadosh Baruch Hu's offers are concerned. The title is Accepting and Rejecting. Subtitle, of course, is Propositions which HaKadosh Baruch Hu, as it were, offers individuals. When we learn Parshas Noach, Baruch Hashem, after reading about the disasters of Odom v'Chava insofar as the original sin is concerned, and the homicide of one brother vis-a-vis another brother, which was much more than simply murder of one individual, but it was a murder of half of the world. So Baruch Hashem, the beginning of Parshas Noach, so we see that HaKadosh Baruch Hu told Moshe Rabbeinu to write something about Noach that no one was zeicha to even Avram Avinu. The Torah told us, Eila told us, Noach is tzaddik tamim hoya b'deiraisa. The simple meaning is Noach was a righteous man. He was a complete person in midas, as Chazal say. The pasuk says, Eila told us, Noach. We repeat Noach 2 times. What's the reason for that? Because Noach was Noach l'Kadosh Baruch Hu, Noach l'Briyos. He was good and kind insofar as fulfilling the wishes of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, even though there was no Torah. And he was also very, very kind, very sensitive insofar as his relationship and interpersonal relationships with people was concerned. So the question that naturally arises is that the Novi Yeshayahu, in the 51st chapter of the Novi, says, Shimu elai roitfei tzedek mevakshei Hashem habitu el tzolchu tzaftem ve'amakeves bo nukaltem. The translation is, hearken to me, you that are pursuers of righteousness, you who are seekers of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, of the Almighty. Look at the rock from where you were hewn and from the hole of the pit where you were dug. In other words, the Chazal are telling us advice that somebody has an identity crisis. He doesn't know who he is. So Shimu elai roitfei tzedek, and this person who has a doubt so far as the essence and the very core and substance of his personality is concerned, of course, is to be understood in the metaphysical, existential vein. So he's called roitfei tzedek. He's in pursuit of righteousness. He really wants to do the right thing, the Einei of the Almighty. He's also called Mevakshei Hashem. He seeks HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So the Navi tells him, you look deep, deep into where you were metaphorically hewn from. Where do you come from? And with that individual that you were, so to speak, created from, so that is your real personality. And if you identify with that, you will have absolutely no doubts. You'll have a good, happy life. So metaphorically, you look at where the stone was hewn from. If we don't know whether a stone is gold, silver, or copper, there's a doubt insofar as the identity of the stone is concerned. So we have only one possibility of finding out the true identity by tracing it back to the mind that it was hewn from. And all of a sudden, the pasuk tells us, Habitu el Avram avichem ve'el Sarah techalelchem ki echad korosiv avarcheu ve'yarbeyu. Look at Avram, your father, and at Sarah who bore you. She gave birth to you. For when he was but one, I called him, I blessed him, and I made him many. He is the father of the Jewish nation. Baruch atah Hashem, Elokeinu v'Elokei Avoseinu, Elokei Avram. We start with the God of Avram. We are Zera Avram. The Jewish people are the seed of Avram Avinu. He's the one that also inherited Eretz Yisrael, and he was the one that transmitted it to his children. Only his children, Bnei Yisrael, have a right to be in the land of Israel. And the question naturally arises, why Avram Avinu? Why could we not be descendants, existentially speaking, carved out from the personality of Noach? Noach was the Ish Tzaddik, the Torah tells us he was a great, righteous, upstanding individual. So his personality would suffice for the Jewish people to emanate from. No, we start from Avram Avinu. Noach is excluded, and not only is Noach excluded, Noach is assigned 7 mitzvahs. We have 7 mitzvahs, Sheva mitzvahs, shenitztavu b'nei Noach, and those are the goyim. The goyim are called b'nei Noach. Noach belongs, insofar as fatherhood is concerned, not fatherhood in any way of the Jewish people, but universal fatherhood insofar as the entire Gentile world is concerned. And why? He was a fine person, a great, outstanding, noble tzaddik as well. And as the Shlo points out, basically speaking, the Zayin mitzvahs shenitztavu b'nei Noach are not really mitzvahs. They are, but they're not. A mitzvah is the pshat, you do something because the Kadosh Baruch Hu has told us to do it. Even by chesed, even by kindness, the reason that we abide by all the rules, regulations of being kind, generous to our fellow man is not because we have an uplifted spirit, we have a sensitive heart, we're sympathetic to people that are in need. That should not be the motivating factor. The motivating factor is that Kadosh Baruch Hu in His Torah commanded us to do it. It's a tzivui. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the mitzaveh, and we are the mitzvah. He's the commander-in-chief. He issues the command, and we are the ones that have to implement the command. We're the mitzvah. We're the ones that are the object of this command. Just to make it a little bit clearer, so the Goin explained, the Vilna Goin in Parshas Achrei Mos explains a very interesting concept. And I believe this will be a good illustration. The Torah tells us, Rei nasati lefnechem hayom es hachayim ve'es habrocha. Es hamoves ve'es haklolim. So the Chazal say, the Kadosh Baruch Hu gave us today, through the Torah, some moves. Those are Averas. Averas are considered by the Torah moves. Klolo is connected to moves. But basically, what is moves? So the Chazal says it's like somebody who drinks a bottle of poison. What about behold, I have also given to you today Hachayim, that's mitzvahs. Yet we added, the Torah added bracha v'klala. What's the pshat? So the guy explains that when somebody does a mitzvah, so he was now in a position of fulfilling the mitzvah of gaining life. It's a life vehicle for this world and for the world to come. If God forbid somebody does the opposite, so unfortunately, it's some moves, it's death. He drank poison. It'll express itself in this world and the world to come. What is bracha v'klala? So he says the follows: be every mitzvah and in every avera you have, in addition to the essential mitzvah performance, which is tantamount to a grant of life by HaKadosh Baruch Hu through the actual fulfillment of the mitzvah. And in contrast, when somebody does an Aveira, so it's actually an act of death. In addition, we also have fulfilled, as we mentioned a moment ago, the command of the Be'er Yolam, and that itself, the fulfillment of the commandment, accepting the yoke of mitzvahs upon us and doing what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants us to do, that's a separate performance, and that's a bracha. You will get brachas, you will zeicha to tremendous rewards in this world, partially the world to come. The act itself is one entity, grants you life, but if it's done properly, v'tzivanu, so then you'll have brachas and schar ad belidai, unlimited, because of that nachas ruach that you gave to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Like Rashi says, what's called reach nichayach, a sweet, smelling, pleasant scent that HaKadosh Baruch Hu attests to when somebody does a mitzvah. Shamarti v'nases ritzoyni, I said to do a mitzvah, v'nases ritzoyni, and my rotzoin, my will, has been fulfilled. So that itself is a separate entity of brachas, v'atzlochis, yeshuas, v'schar. If it's done, l'shem v'tzivon. As a response to a divine mandate and imperative. Unfortunately, the opposite is also true. And where do you see it? From the original chet, the chet HaKadman, says the Goyim. After all, what did the HaKadosh Baruch Hu say? That when you eat from the Eitz Hadas, what will happen? Mois tobos, you'll die. They were supposed to live eternally. They did an Aveira of Achilas Eitz Hadas, so that contained within it, as it were metaphorically, drinking a potion of poison. And they brought death into the world. However, there were so many penalties. And for some reason we cannot understand, those clauses, those curses, and those penalties were extended and extrapolated to all mankind. The death through the actual eating of the Etadas has taken effect on humanity until Melech Mashiach comes, and then it will be La Movas L'Netzach. There won't be any more death. It'll be swallowed up and destroyed forever and ever. So we see, says the guy, word for word, what the pasuk means. We see it in the words, in the verses. Es hamoves v'es haklolo. The klolo that was attached to all the curses that were attached to the actual Aveira, and that is because there was a merida in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. In other words, when somebody does an Aveira, not only does he drink poison, as it were, but also it consists of a rebellion against the wishes of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's, as it were, spitting in the face of Kodesh B'richu, and that is the reason why there are so many penalties and punishments attached to the Aveira, and perhaps those punishments and for rebelling against the command of HaKadosh Baruch Hu is worse than the essential samoves poison that was involved in doing the Aveira itself. That's what the Gaon says. That's only by the Jewish people. The Zayin mitzvah Stavu B'nei Noach, the Shloh explains to us, is not to be understood within the context of mitzvahs, the Gaon as well. It's basically tikkun ha'olam. In order that there should be a civilization and people should not devour one the other, so we have Zayin mitzvahs and Stavlu B'nei Noach, but they're not the same type of mitzvahs that the Jewish people have. It's not as if there was a divine mandate and the Goyim have to do everything because of this divine mandate. And if they don't do it, it's a rebellion, and that rebellion will bring about curses. It's something else entirely. The punishment is because they're destroying the civilized world. It's basically like Hammurabi's code, lahavdil, a code of behavior in order that society should not disintegrate like it's happening today. Simple as that. And that is attached to Noach. So the question is why? It said, after everything is said and done, Noach was the Sadi Tamil. And when we look at Rashi, so we're simply amazed. HaKadosh Baruch Hu decided to save Noach from the decree of destructing the world, of destroying, he made a mistake of destroying the world. He found favoritism by HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu decided not to destroy him and his family. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu could have saved him very easily, but he told him, you make yourself an ark. So the question is, why? Could have saved him, destroyed the world through many, many different means. So Rashi tells us, B'Shem de Chazal, there's many ways that HaKadosh Baruch Hu could have saved and brought about salvation for Noach and his family. Why did HaKadosh Baruch Hu cause Noach to have to work laboriously for 120 years to build the ark? And all the people of that generation should see what he's doing. And he was Oisek, he was involved in building this ark 120 years. What are you making an ark? What is the purpose behind this? So he said there's going to be a Mabul. If you don't change your ways, you'll be destroyed. Says Rashi that what purpose was in order that people should ask what he's doing, and through that Noach should inspire them to do tshuva. Now Noach was not successful, not by one person. Yet he fulfilled the will of HaKadosh Baruch Hu arduously 120 years. So my Rabbi told me that Noach is the most remarkable character of the Torah in one respect. Everybody else, had he not succeeded after a month, would have stopped. 2 months. Not one person listened to Noach. And Noach, we assume, also had powers of persuasion. No, nobody listened. They were so corrupt they couldn't listen. 120 years he had the keichas hanefesh, the inner strength. Despite the fact that he failed miserably in this task, he nevertheless did not stop. So we see Noach had certain milas that very, very few people have. These keichas hanefesh are simply remarkable. The answer would appear to be based on the Riyah Kadosh. The Ri was a mystic, but many times he says the Yesod HaDvarim, that we can understand the depth of the mythicism of the Riyah Kadosh is beyond our comprehension. But many times when he says Pshat in the Kabbalah, so we have a little bit of comprehension. So we can have over here a pretty clear comprehension of what he said. The Zohar in this week's parsha mentions that Noach did not pray for his generation. But there could be the reason he didn't pray is because he did much more than prayer. But Poyal, he tried to be Mekar of them. Not only he, perhaps he didn't daven for their tshuva, but in actuality, he tried to Mekar of them to do tshuva. But if we ask ourselves the question, who's responsible? So we would answer, who's responsible for the flood, the destruction of the world? The corrupt people. Everything was corrupt. Animals were also corrupt. No, the Zohar says in this week's Haftarah, we read, Ki mei Noach sois. The Mabul of Noach. What do you mean the Mabul of Noach? Noach was responsible for the Mabul. Says the Zohar, he was responsible for the Mabul. How is it that Noach is responsible for the Mabul? In other words, Noach could have saved the entire generation. Salvation came of the entire world, came knocking at his door. He had an opportunity to save the world, and he did not take advantage of this opportunity. What's the pshat? So the Ari HaKadosh told us the great pshatim of all time. But beforehand, we should like to answer a very difficult question according to the Yesod of the Ari HaKadosh. And that is that the Chazal tell us, Kinim Tasa L'cho HaTeva. Because Baruch Hu instructed Noach to build the Teva, Kinim. So we don't know what Kinim means. Kinim Tasa L'cho HaTeva. So the Chazal bring two pshotim, two explanations. One is Kilim u'Medurim, rooms, chambers. Rabbi Yitzchak, another parish, Ma Kein Hazeh Mitayach HaMitzayra, Af Tevoscha Mitaharoscha. So Rabbi Yitzchak said, no, it's a different pshat. What's the pshat according to Rabbi Yitzchak? Rabbi Yitzchak said, just as a cane, to play on words, cane is a pair of birds. It cleanses a leper. So your ark will cleanse you. Kinim Tatra Teva is a reference to the Kenim, the two birds which a Mitzayra has to sacrifice when he becomes pure from his tzaras, from his leprosy. So the Mefarshim are astounded. And they explain, what did Rabbi Yitzchak say? Kinim Tasra Teva Ma Kinim Mitayas HaMitzayra Af Tevoscha Mitaharoscha, your Teva will purify you. So the Eitz Yosef, one of the great commentators on the Medrash, says, it doesn't say Zova v'yoledes. They also have to bring a Zova. Somebody has a discharge, or a mother who just gave birth also has to bring kinim. No, we say Mitzayra. They ain't tarosa malchet, because their purity, their cleansing is not due to a chet. Mitzayra, the negoyim boyin alavon. Leprosy comes because of chatoyim, of sins. V'taras noyach nami michet hoyon, the purity. The purification of Noach, the cleansing of Noach was from a chet. What chet did he have? So we have a very strange parsha. We don't understand it well. So far as chet or egel is concerned, we do not understand how the Jewish people could have come to commit such a terrible aveira in the absence of Moshe Rabbeinu. That's not the focus of attention at this point. But afterwards, we see that there were two sections of prayer, of tefillah, that were originated by Moshe Rabbeinu. First, he asked the Kadosh Baruch Hu to forgive the Jewish people. Zechar Avram Yitzchak Yankiv, the schus of the office, your promise not to destroy the Jewish people, because even if they deserve it, but the schus of the Avosenu HaKadoshim will save them. And it worked. Kadosh Baruch Hu says, the Pasuk says, Vayinochem Hashem al haro asher diber lasos la'amoy, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu at this point backed off. He decided to reverse the gezerah of total destruction of the Jewish people. He had said earlier, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Achale oisam kerega, I will destroy them instantaneously. I'll make you a great nation. The Jewish people will never be destroyed. HaKadosh Baruch Hu promised they'll live forever. They'll be an eternal nation. However, this nation will be destroyed. The people of this nation will be destroyed. I'll make you into a great nation. So through you, we'll have a new start, a fresh start. We'll harness new energies, and we'll have a good, religious Jewish nation. So Moshe Rabbeinu prayed that that decree should be canceled. And the HaKadosh Baruch Hu said he canceled it out. And afterwards, we have this famous prayer, tefillah, but more than a tefillah, it was a type of absolute condition that Moshe Rabbeinu made with the HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and he said, "Va'ato im tisoch hatosam." Now you forgive their aveira, says Rashi Mutav, it'll be good, no question about it. Harei tov. But if not, v'im oyin, the pasuk says, erase me from the book that you have read, or you have written. Better I shouldn't have come into the world. This was the second section of Tefillah expressed by Moshe Rabbeinu. The Zohar says, Mecheni is spelled Mem. Ches Nun Yud. So those four letters comprise Mei Noach. Mem Yud is Mei. Nun Ches is Noach. That's what the Zohar said. Mecheni knows Mei Noach. What's the connection to Mei Noach? So the Ari HaKodesh says a Gewaltige Yisoid. We'll just try to explain it a little more, articulate the Yisod if it's possible, as it's Hashem a little bit more. Moshe Rabbeinu understood that which it says, Achala oisam kerega, I will destroy them instantaneously, was kipshuta. Kadosh Baruch Hu after Chet Egel, so they have no source to continue existing. Moshe Rabbeinu prayed, and his prayers were answered. Kadosh Baruch Hu canceled the decree. But Moshe Rabbeinu understood it was only temporary. That which HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, Achalo Yisam Kerega V'Escha L'Goy Godol, instantly they'll be destroyed. So that instantly, that Kerega, so HaKadosh Baruch Hu decided to change his mind and Vayinochem, he, as it were, pulled back, recoiled. Moshe Rabbeinu understood that's only temporary. Ultimately, he will destroy the Jewish nation. So Moshe Rabbeinu saw that his tefillas could not cancel out, negate, and nullify the decree of destruction on a permanent basis. So what did Moshe Rabbeinu do? Erase me. What does that mean? Erase me? What does it mean? So the Ri HaKodesh said on Yisrael. The Ri HaKodesh said that a true Manig Yisrael, who are the true leaders of the Jewish people? The true leaders of the Jewish people are leaders that when, God forbid, they failed in their mission, and now the Jewish people face a possibility of total destruction, so they do whatever they can, pray, daven in order to negate the decree. But if they can't do it, So you know what they say to HaKadosh Baruch Hu? We're going with the decree. We will, Moshe Rabbeinu, says the Riyah Kodesh, declared he's not interested in saving himself. He's not interested in Eschal Goy Gadol. If the Jewish people will be destroyed, and the HaKadosh Baruch Hu offered him Atzolas Atzmoi, not only personal salvation, but from your personal salvation, I will rebuild Klal Yisrael. A kind offer. Everybody else will be destroyed, including Aaron. You'll be the only survivor, and we'll start anew, harnessing fresh energy. So Moshe Rabbeinu rejected that kind offer, because there's a time that you need rejection even from a kind offer. For who? Who else would reject such a kind offer? On the contrary, anytime we have a business, somebody offers us something good, we accept it. Moshe Rabbeinu rejected it because Moshe Rabbeinu was a true Manhig B'Yisrael, and as such, if he cannot cancel out, negate the decree, he's going with the decree. And of course, the Yodea Machshavos, Kadosh Baruch Hu knows what's sincere. Kadosh Baruch Hu is a boichen. Yodea Machshavos, and he's a boichen levavois. He searches the heart, so he knows whether it's truthful, whether it's sincere. But Moshe Rabbeinu, it was sincere, it was truthful. And that's how he saved the Jewish people. Because says the Riyah Kodesh, you have such a great Manhig that his whole existence is not on a personal level. He has nothing to live for. Only for the community, for the nation. He's 120% dedicated, devoted exclusively to the welfare of the nation. He has nothing of himself. He lives not, he has no pleasure in life if it wouldn't be for the fact that he can help and ensure the welfare of the community. And once that community is in danger of total annihilation, he goes with it. That's how we save the Jewish people, because they have such a great leader. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu understood there's a hope that he will be able to mekarev them to the proper way. Said the great Riyah Kodesh, what's the remez? Mecheni to Mei Noach. Mei Noach was an outstanding tzaddik, no question about it. He was good to God, good to people. He did whatever he could. Like our teachers taught us, tremendous kaichas hanef, 120 years. Tried to mekarev people unsuccessfully. Nevertheless, he never lost his enthusiasm. And he continued to do it for 120 years. Yet, when he was offered salvation, just like Moshe Rabbeinu was offered a salvation, Roisi Tzaddik, I saw you're a Tzaddik, you, your family will go into the Teva, you will be saved, the world will be destroyed. So since he was the greatest person of that generation, so he was ipso facto the leader of that generation. So what should have been his response? Rejection of salvation. Thanks, but no thanks. If I cannot be mekarev, if I can't bring them to do tshuva and they'll be destroyed, I'm going with them. That's a true leader. A true leader has no life of his own. And there will be no world for which he could worry for their welfare, implement positive things on their behalf, express his loving kindness for them. So it's a siman, it's a sign that if he accepts this kind offer, he has a life of his own, he's not a manhig. And that's how Noach brought about the destruction of the world. That extra dimension he did not have like Moshe Rabbeinu. He was not a true manhig. the one that lived exclusively for others, first and foremost for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Avram Avinu, they threw him into a burning furnace, ready to sacrifice his son, did everything possible for others, had absolutely not one iota of ego. He was Elokei Avram, says Taisvis and Brachas, that through him, he was Mamlech HaKadosh Baruch Hu in the world. He brought about monotheism. He brought about ideas that there is a creator of the world who owns the world, is the proprietor of the world, and we have to abide by his will if we want to live in this world like moral people. We have to abide by his moral. That was Avram Avinu. Avram Avinu was the opposite of Noach. He had nothing of himself. So that is why the Jewish people emanate from Avram Avinu. A Jewish person is carved out from the very core and substance of Avraham Avinu, and that's why we Jewish people can be Moshe Nefesh. V'aftat Hashem Elokecha, love God your God b'chol levavcha v'chol nafsha v'chol miyodecha. Afilu noitel es nafsha. Kadosh Baruch Hu demands on occasion that we have to sacrifice ourselves totally, partially. So where did we get that koyach? We got that koyach from Avraham Avinu. Like the great Reb Chaim Volozhin told us that Avraham Avinu was nisnasa basara nisyonos, and he was omid bekulam. He had 10 major trials and tribulations. He came out perfectly, successfully in all of them. Leidiach, Chibasai, Amokai, Molov, to show you how much he loved Rebbeinu Shalom. And that which we, said Reb Chaim Volozhin, have a koyach of Mesiras Nefesh. Menashech all the Doiris, we had Asar Aruge Malchus, we just read about it on Yom Kippur. Where did they get the koyach? From Avram Avinu. He was the first. He was the father. Fatherhood, character, personality, stone that we're hewn from is from Avram Avinu. And that's why the Jewish people arose to heights that no one even dreamt of in literature, even the fiction. We don't have any type of individuals who in the course of their lifetime were Meiser Nefesh, lived the life of Mesiras Nefesh, willing to die. Like the Bacham Yeshiva today, we will never leave a yeshiva if they have a gezerah against us. We're willing to sacrifice our lives. That comes from Avram Avinu. That is the true leadership of the Jewish people. And Noach could not come to such a high level. And it's interesting, and we'll close with this, that once in Poland, the Baal Shem Tov discerned that there was going to be a pogrom against a certain town. So he took all of his Talmidim, all of his Hasidim to that town. He arrived there Erev Shabbos, and he told all the people of that city that there's going to be a pogrom on Shabbos, and therefore, in order to hope to be mevatel the gezerah, to cancel out the decree, so nobody eat on Shabbos. Everybody come to the Batei Knesiyos, man, woman, and child. Everybody appears there. Will daven and hope to be mevatel the decree. Shabbos morning, the Baal Shem Tov said it was canceled out. Everybody can now go home, eat, and celebrate. What was the pshat? The people decided anti-Semitism to kill all the Jewish people there. So there was a meeting how to do it. Thursday, Friday, and then Shabbos, the Paritzim, those that had a right to collect taxes from the Jewish people because they gave bribes to the Tsar, said, what are you doing? If you kill out the Jewish people, we won't be able to have any money from them. We won't be able to collect the taxes from them. After all, the taxes don't go to the Zar. We paid the Shoichad, we gave him bribes, we collect the money and it'll be good for everybody. So when they came to that realization, somehow or other, the logical conclusion was that it's better to keep them, the Jewish people, than to destroy them. So that was the story. And Baruch Hashem, about the tefillas, etc., surely we're mevatel the gezerah. The Bel Zerov said he heard from his Zayda, the Sar Shalom, that the question that the Sar Shalom asked, the Bel Zerov, the original Bel Zerov, the Sar Shalom, he bells, asked, why did the Baal Shem Tov have to go to that city? Why was it necessary for him to go with all of his Talmidim, all of the Hasidim? Unbelievable upheaval. He could have stayed where he was, davening with all of his Hasidim from there. So the Sar Shalom Bel's answer, no. The Baal Shem Tov went to that city. Why? Because if the tefillas, his own personal tefillas and the tefillas of his Hasidim and Talmidim from that city, and also the city that they traveled to, would not work, they would not be able with the normal order of tefillah to be mevatel the gezerah. So he's willing to go into the gezerah. They'll kill him too. They'll kill his Talmidim too. And the Sar Shalom Bel said, and that's how the Baal Shem Tov HaKadosh canceled the gezerah, because also truthfully and sincerely, he decided that if the tefillas in that city will not cancel out the decree of destruction, so he will, and with all of his Talmidim, will place themselves in the same decree, and they will also sacrifice their lives together with the people of the city. Now we understand what the Medrash said. Despite the fact that we have many rabbis that disagree, but it's the answer according to the Medrash is a simple answer. The question that we asked, that this was a chet, that the teva was an object of purification, of catharsis. How is that? Answer is a very simple answer, very, very simple answer. Vayishar ach Noach. What's pshat? Vayishar ach Noach, achach. Always Noach was bleeding. If he was late in giving the food to a lion, so the lion scratched him. He was the one that was in charge of feeding all the animals on the teva. He had no night, he had no day. He was wounded. Why? Why did HaKadosh Baruch Hu place him in such a situation where he was in charge, taking care of the food supply for the animals? And not only was it arduous, that it was something which he had to do all day long, but it was also dangerous and he had to suffer. Answer is, the teva is mitaher you. The teva told us, the teva and the animals on the teva were catharsis for Noach, because it told him, it was a lesson to him, it inculcated on him that a manig has no day, has no night. A manig has no personal life. He has to be dedicated and devoted to the welfare of the people. Noach could not do that. So therefore he was taught in a different fashion dedication, devotion, even if you're attacked, even if blood is pouring from every vessel that you have to continue because you have no personal life of your own. And the purpose of the teva and how the teva served as catharsis for Noach is the fact that it taught him the most valuable lesson possible for a manig b'Yisrael. You have no life of your own. Your life must be totally dedicated, devoted to the community, to the world.